Okay, we're going to start out with some shout outs. We're going to start out with who made pancakes from last week. So here we have Lance Pancakes. All right, she got her veggie meat up here in the top as well. And then we have Loretta's Pancakes. All right, I see that pat of butter on there. All right, and then Tam made gourmet pancakes, okay? So hers has some peanut butter in it and some bananas and syrup and all that kind of stuff. And then she made one for her son, Jackson. It was a chocolate one, okay? And so his had chocolate in it. And so we had some good eating going on. All right. I hope y'all enjoyed that. And now, yes, I'm so proud of everybody for getting in that kitchen and trying those pancakes out. Everybody who tried them enjoyed them because they were delicious. I know they were to me. Miss Barbara Barnes is not on tonight right now. I don't know if she's coming in later, but I think she had another meeting going on. But she told me about her pancakes a week ago as well. I think the next day. And so she enjoyed her pancakes as well. Okay. So today I think what I'm gonna do, just so I can check on that file again, I'm gonna do the movie recommendation next, and then I'll do the presentation that I have. Okay, so I do have a movie. I have a movie that I'm recommending this week. Now I have to say it's hard to top the one I gave y'all first because it was just right there. It was just right there. But this one is one we really loved as well. And it's called Hiding in Plain Sight. Now, let me correct something I said last week. Last week, I was saying that it was on Encourage TV, and it was, but it is now on Artflix or something like that. The one that we talked about last week, God, Where Are You? But this week, Hiding in Plain Sight is on Encourage TV. All right, so let me show you.
Is that one free too?
Yes, it is.
Peanut.
Yes, ma'am.
Peanut? Don't stop trusting in God.
You know what I hate? Waking up every morning sitting on that corner waiting for somebody to pick us up. I hate it.
How do we get ourselves in this predicament anyway?
Mr. Blackman, your license suspended and your insurance is 2 days from being expired.
Wait a minute.
You're under arrest.
Look, I'm the only one in my family that works. Please, if we take me to jail, we'll lose everything.
Baby girl, what are you doing just not doing your homework?
Daddy, it's hard. The kids at school are always making fun of me and they call me names. I haven't took a shower in months.
My first priority is make sure you and Taylor are safe. I'm a man. I got one responsibility, and that's to provide and protect my family.
Darius, God can help us.
No, I am not going to the church. I'm gonna get us out of this. I'll get us out of this.
See, it's your pride. It's your pride!
Look at us. We're living out here on the street. So I'm not doing too good, am I? I'm not just mad at God. And here I am trying to do the right thing.
My grandson has a good job. He makes good money, and he loves to do for the church.
Look, how you gonna give our last big offering? You know we needed that for gas and food.
I want off these streets. I'm sick and tired of sitting on the side of the road looking for a job and never getting one. You know what that makes me feel like inside?
It is the love of God that keeps us, the love of God that holds us, that enables us.
You just seem to amaze me.
Nothing but good times.
Good times, that's right.
It's hard being a man, knowing the right thing to do.
What am I supposed to do?
Let go and let God.
It's funny. We're
We're supposed to be in the land of milk and honey, right?
Not from where I sit. Man, I'm hiding in America just to keep my family together.
That's a very good movie as well. And it teaches a lot about faith and all of that along the way. And I think that's one that would be appreciated by a lot of people because of, you know, what's going on, people losing jobs and, you know, just the struggle that a lot of people are facing now. Again, it is encouraging. This particular movie is encouraging to help you with your faith walk. Tonight's presentation is on, believe it or not, this pandemic that we have. I thought I was going to talk about finance, but for some reason, all of the information that was downloaded in me was on this coronavirus, and I will tell you why. Let me go ahead and pull it up for y'all first. Let's see if I can once again share something with you. All right. So hopefully you can see this entire screen. So first of all, I'm not a doctor, as you all know, but I have been researching a lot and have found information from various doctors and news sites and so forth, because if you're anything like me, you probably are trying to learn as much as you can about how to be safe. So I decided, well, let me just share some of the things that I've been learning in case you might pick up something new. And then, of course, when we get to our talk at the end, please, by all means, share anything else that you want to share when we get to the part about reflecting on what we talked about. In today's world, we need wisdom. And so when we look at Hosea 4, verse 6, it says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." And so I decided to speak on this topic because of the opening up of the country. You know, even though the numbers of the coronavirus cases are rising day by day, and it is pretty much impossible to find masks and gloves, disinfectant wipes for hands or surfaces, alcohol or sanitizer for the general public. And just for the record, I am a fan of soap and water over sanitizer any day, as long as soap and water is available. But please note that the country is opening up because of economic concerns and not because it's safe for us to be out and about. So that was one of the reasons I chose to talk on this topic. And then also I chose to talk on this topic because of the alarming COVID-19 statistics and concerns for our African American community. So we got the opening up of the country, and our African American community is now, they're focusing on what's going on with our community because of our numbers of serious coronavirus cases. Now, it's not that we're more susceptible to get the virus than people of other races. When they talk about our numbers, it's not that the coronavirus doesn't like Black people. You know, it's not like that. What's happening is we're having complications and negative outcomes because of our underlying health conditions. As we all know, we're having complications and negative outcomes because of underlying health conditions. So, as you know, we have family members and we ourselves have things such as diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, obesity, and we have them at a disproportionate rate of other races. And what's happening is that we are having more complications, more serious complications leading to death of COVID-19 than a lot of other races are. And then So because of that high risk, we need to be mindful of our elderly relatives and friends, and also of our family members who suffer from underlying conditions. Now, historically, you can look back and see that this is not the first time we've had this problem. It's just that we weren't here, okay? So back in 1918, there was a Spanish flu pandemic, and that lasted for over 2 years before people felt comfortable enough to go back and be around each other. And during that time, if you go and do your research, you will find that gatherings were not allowed. So they did not have school and church and all of that because it was so dangerous, okay? We're in a situation right now where we're anxious to get back to the way things were. Well, that's not gonna happen. Even if they open something up, even if they open up the whole country, the COVID-19 coronavirus is not gonna follow our rules. It's not, you know, coronavirus does not care about our rules and what we want. So just keep that in mind as we continue to progress through this situation. The most dangerous thing that I think we're dealing with is asymptomatics, okay? They keep talking about testing, and all of that and trying to have a vaccine, yes, but the biggest threat is not the people that's showing symptoms, okay? It's not people that's coughing or having fever or what have you. These people are going to be going to the doctor, they're going to quarantine themselves, you know, but 80% of people with coronavirus go unknown because they feel fine. They're not going to go to the doctor. It's like, I could have it. I wouldn't know. You could have it. You don't know. And so asymptomatics are people that feel fine, just like you and I, and they're going on about their business. Well, that is how this virus can spread easily. Because while everybody's taking temperatures, asymptomatics are not going to have a temperature, okay? And so what that means is that we have to operate as if everyone is contagious. Okay, I'm gonna say that one more time. Everyone is contagious. And when you're in public, you have to act as if we ourselves are contagious so that we don't get offended if we're treated that way, okay? Because I, for sure, if I'm out in public, I'm not gonna be trying to get close to you, and I don't want you to get close to me, because we're all trying to be safe and protected as much as possible right now. And unfortunately, that gets in the way of the things we like to do. We like to hug, we like to, you know, shake hands, we like to be close. And this particular virus is not allowing that, okay? And so that brings me to washing our hands. I just want to talk about our hands for a minute, because this is like the most important thing that we need to keep in mind. Washing our hands often and lathering up, not just putting soap on our hand and rinsing it right off, but they say to wash our hands for at least 20 seconds, making sure we're actually rubbing our hands together with that soap before we put it under the water is actually what is destroying the virus on our hands. And you guys, water is God's cleanser, okay? And soap and water is the most accessible way to wash that virus down the drain, okay? While we can't find so many cleaning products and disinfectant products or whatever, good old-fashioned soap and water is still our friend. And the more access we can have to an environment where we can get our hands on soap and water, the better off we'll be. Because they say we touch our faces. We touch our faces so much that we don't even know that we do it. This is what they're saying. And they said that you need to always know where your hands are, okay? Therefore, it goes back to what I just said. Wash your hands as much as possible, because we're always touching, you know, something might itch or whatever. We touch something, not even thinking about it. That's why as often as possible, after you touch something that could be contaminated, wash your hands. Just in case you touch your face, then you know your hands are clean at that time. Avoid touching surfaces, like unnecessarily touching something in public. You know, just kind of keep your hands to yourself, so to speak, because those surfaces are harboring viruses and such, and they can live there for a long time. Our hands are infecting us when we touch our faces, okay? The virus enters through our eyes, nose, and mouth. And they say that the virus is in respiratory droplets. So when we cough, when we sneeze, when we speak, and even when we just breathe, respiratory droplets are coming out. And we can spread the virus just like that. In fact, they also talked about, and this was not in my notes, but they also talked about it's much safer to be in an outdoor environment than an indoor environment, because even the air condition can push and blow droplets and spread disease a lot quicker in a public, you know, building kind of a thing when you're around like that. So being outside, it doesn't travel that way as much. So, so that brings me to another thing. We're in public, wear mask whenever you're in public. Now, let me just say, they try to discourage us from wearing masks, but we got to remember why. They're not available. You cannot buy them from the store. And so with that being said, you know, we're not gonna really want to go out if we realize we need a mask. So they're telling us, don't worry about a mask. Only health workers, you know, need masks, and save the mask for the people who are on the front lines. Well, I beg to differ. Personally, if you can get your hands on a homemade cloth mask, I would advise you to do so. Because let's just use a little common sense and think about this. It would automatically decrease the amount of droplets that can reach your mouth and nose compared to not having anything on at all. And it protects others from your respiratory droplets. Also, my husband just went to the post office today, and you'll notice when you go out in public, some people have masks, some people don't have masks. And some people that don't have masks will come walk up close to you if you're not careful. And so again, that's just giving you an extra, you know, type of protection for yourself to wear a mask. And the more people that do it, the better off we all are. Avoid touching the mask or your face as much as possible while you're actually out. You have to treat the exposed side of your mask as contaminated. And so therefore, when you take it off, you take it off carefully. And in our household, we drop it on in the washing machine as soon as possible. And then, so that brings me to the final point on the mask, is to wash it after every wear. And that brings me now to the concept of social distancing. And that is to avoid unnecessary contact or gatherings with others outside of your home as much as possible. You definitely want to avoid crowds for sure. And I know this is hard, but we need to avoid or greatly limit our visiting. Now, in our household, once again, I'm not planning to visit my grandmother right now because, again, I could be asymptomatic. I personally do not want to be responsible for giving my grandmother at 98 years old, or any other age for that matter, coronavirus, because I didn't know I was infected, okay? So I'm not visiting anybody. I named my grandmother as an example, but our household is not visiting, nor are we being visited at this time. My way of connecting with my family is, you know, through phone or text or what have you, but we are not visiting because of that risk we do not want to put our loved ones in, or ourselves. And so, in other words, during this pandemic, we must shrink our physical social circle. In other words, we have to limit the number of people that we're around that do not live in the house with us. Okay, why? Because everyone is not, let's just be honest, everyone is not being as careful as you are, or as I am. Everyone is not taking the same precautions as you are, or I am. Some people are not being careful at all. They're not even worried about it. They're doing everything, going everywhere, visiting everybody. And then here they come to visit you. Now, also, let's talk about the 10 people rule. That gets my grit every time I hear it on the news or anything, when they talk about not being around more than 10 people. So it makes it sound like if you're around 9 or 10, you know, you safe. No, let's think again. Remember, asymptomatics, you know, that's the real issue here. So people that don't look sick, not acting sick, it could be me, it could be you. All right, so when you talk 10 people, let's just go down to 3. If 1 out of the 3 is not being careful, if is not taking this seriously, you know, is not taking precautions as much as you and your family are, that one person can come in and infect the other 2, just that quick. The coronavirus cannot count, okay? It cannot count to 10. So the bottom line again is you have to keep it in mind that asymptomatics are our biggest threat. We could be a threat to our family because we don't feel sick and we could have the virus. So continuing, we could be infected, so we have to try to protect those we love in case we are contagious and don't even know it. Now, when our loved one gets sick, you got to keep this in mind too. Why is it that I'm doing this to stay away from family like I am? Because I care about them so much. I care about them. I care about me and my family so much that I just don't want us to get sick from each other. Okay? So here's what motivates me to stay on track. You guys, if you've been paying any attention to the news, when our loved ones get sick, nowadays, you're unable to be with them. If somebody has coronavirus, they have to be locked in a room separate from the house and they cannot come out. They're supposed to have their own restroom and everything. They will be in quarantine. Who wants that for their family member or themselves? If they're in the hospital, guess what? They don't let you go in there. You can't go in the hospital with your loved one anymore. We're unable to have funerals as we have known them. If you think about it now, they're limiting how many people can attend a funeral, and they should. Because guess what? Our people are getting sick and some are dying after attending the funeral. Okay? And this is very close to home for me because our family has actually had members to die after going to a funeral. This is no joke, and it's not just one. They were just fine. They went to a funeral, and during that time is when they got sick, and then they got sick, went to the hospital, and, you know, some of them have passed away. So more than one. Some have been sick and recovered, but either way it goes, this is no joke. And because of that, I take it very seriously. So temporarily, we just can't be hugging on each other, and we just can't, for each other's safety. And that's why prevention is the key. We must show our love by trying to keep one another safe, okay? In the past, it was, if we want to show our love, we'll go see somebody. Well, guess what? That's not the best way to show love right now. And so we really need to rethink that for the safety and well-being of our family members and ourselves and our family. The additional tips that I have to share is avoid using your cell phone when running errands in public. I saw a segment on this very topic, and they actually show you how badly you can get contaminated because you have handled your phone. Some people that even had gloves on. Well, if your gloves are on and you touching contaminated surfaces, when your phone rings and you reach to get it, now whatever was on your gloves on your cell phone, now you put that cell phone up to your face, lean it up to your face or whatever, now you've got it on your face. So, you know, you got your phone contaminated, your face contaminated, and you're distracted. When we're on our cell phones, we're distracted. We're not able to stay focused on what we're doing, where our hands are, or what have you. And so that makes gloves and all the other things ineffective at protecting you in that case. You still have to know where your hands are. And then even when you take the gloves off, you have to make sure you pull them in a certain way so that you're not touching the contamination. And even take one glove and put it into the other one and pull it off, and make sure you properly discard the gloves, throw them in the garbage can, wash your hands, disinfect your hands as soon as you're done handling them. And then, of course, washing your clothes and your mask when you return home, and have home clothes to change into. That's something else we take seriously around here, is when we get home, again, I saw a segment that talked about the importance of having home clothes and shoes, taking the shoes off before going inside the home. We haven't been so good with the shoe part, but there's no more lying on the floor in my household. We're trying to make sure that we're considering the floors contaminated, which they are anyway, but I'm just saying coronavirus contaminated at this particular point. And then that brings me to handling mail in batches. That's another thing we do here. We wash with soap and water or disinfect everything before we bring it into the house. And if you live in an apartment or something, then you can have a spot on the floor where you put things, and then, you know, what we do, we run water in the sink. It was, you know, and we wash things with soap and water. If we get something in a box, we open it up. Again, either with gloves or we're treating it contaminated, so that when we're done handling boxes and mail, we wash our hands immediately. But we wash everything down. For mail that's in the white envelopes, you know, that's all fragile, we just handle it as if it's contaminated. We open it, read it, file it, discard it. And then we wash our hands with soap and water. So just making sure you're not putting your hand on your face or whatever while you're handling it. You take care of business, wash your hands, and go on. And then finally, as we talk about groceries and other items, we washing them with soap and water, disinfecting them before bringing them into your home. All of these precautions, though, we know it won't guarantee that we won't get sick. But we just need to do what we can do to help ourselves, our friends, and our families stay safe. And then we need to pray and leave the rest to God, okay? So we just want to, you know, have some wisdom and knowledge on what is in our control, because the virus is not in our control. But there are some things that God has given us the good sense to know how to do. And then he takes care of all the things we can't do. And so that brings me to my encouraging verse for the day, Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And if you are a believer, you know that no matter what Corona does, one thing is for sure, Corona cannot take our salvation. Corona cannot destroy our salvation. So with that note, I just wanted to make sure to encourage you to do the best you can for you and your family, and also help others to understand how we might be able to help ourselves, our family, and our community as well. Okay, so now it is finally time to make that bread we've been talking about for about 2 or 3 weeks now. We're going to make bread. Okay, y'all. Today we're making homemade bread. for this recipe, you're gonna need 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and then you're gonna need a 1/2 cup of sugar separately, 1 tablespoon of salt, a 1/2 cup of oil, and 9 cups of all-purpose flour. And you're in for a treat, because today you're gonna find out how you can do so many things wrong and it still turns out right. So, just before we get started, I want to share this product with you, which is yeast that we will be using. Be sure not to use one or get one that says it's for bread machines or fast, quick rising or something like that. Just get the original active dry yeast. And you might want to use Crisco, or you can just use oil for your pans later. Okay, to get started, I've got to activate my yeast. So I put the yeast in a bowl along with the 1 teaspoon of sugar and a cup of warm water. Now, not hot water, but warm to the touch. Nice, comfortable warm is all you need. Then you'll just sit it to the side while you do other things, and you'll notice that it'll start having this little bubble, a little foamy look or what have you. It'll start to go through some changes, and that just means that it is alive. Yes, alive. You should have your flour in a separate bowl, and to that you're going to add the 1/2 cup of sugar, the tablespoon of salt. You're going to mix that and then add your yeast mixture and 3 cups of water along with a 1/2 cup of oil, and give it a stir. Now at this point, I just want to make sure that I don't have any flour in the bottom of my bowl. So I'm just making sure it's all incorporated. And you guys, I can tell you up front, this is actually too wet. I really needed some more flour. But at this point, I just kept going, following my recipe and all. But anyway, you'll see how things go from here. So yeah, after that, just let it sit for about 10 minutes. Okay, so I have washed, dried, and floured my work surface. And again, this is extremely wet dough, but I was just not paying attention. Anyway, so I went on and put it out on my work surface here. And yes, because I didn't have enough flour, I had to try to tame the beast. And that was no fun at all. But anyway, there will be a lot of hand washing, guys. There will be a lot of use of oil, cleaning workspace, all that kind of stuff when you're working with the bread. Now, flour and oil are your best friends during this process. And I incorrectly chose to use more oil. And, well, that was not the right choice. Really, it was so sticky because it needed more flour. For whatever reason, this recipe just did not work like I have remembered it in the past. And so I really needed more flour. And you know, they say hindsight is 20/20. So at any rate, desperate times call for desperate measures. All right, so as I struggle along and everything, you know, I go ahead and try to get it all together because, you know, you need to kind of just work the dough. And right now, I'm just trying to get it to cooperate with me. I mean, spatula, flour, I mean, like everything, this whole thing, kitchen sink. And at any rate, I get it to a point where I can finally do something with it. And then I forgot to grease my bowl. Y'all, please grease your bowl before you put your dough in it. Grease your bowl. It is a lifesaver. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna let my dough rest and rise. And so I'm gonna put a towel over it and put it in a warm area in my kitchen. For me, I have a double oven, and one of the ovens I don't use that much, so I just stuck it in there. The oven is not on. Just put it in there and let it sit for an hour undisturbed. So after the hour, you're gonna punch it down. And you guys, this is the struggle I had because I did not grease my bowl. So basically it shouldn't have been any trouble at all here, but it was still too sticky and all of that. And so I had to work through it. And as you'll see, I kind of got frustrated with it. Okay, anyway. Turning it over should have been easy. But anyway, we're covering it again and we're gonna let it rest again for about 20 minutes. The pans I'm using are 9x5s. This last one says 1.5 quarts. So while my dough is resting and rising, I am greasing my pans with Crisco. You can use oil or Crisco, you know, shortening or what have you, but just get them nice and oiled up. I'm just gonna say it's gotta be an easier way, y'all. But you have to cut your dough into 4 equal pieces at this point. So basically making a cross or a T with it. I think it would have done a lot better if it wasn't so sticky. As I said before, it needed much more flour than the recipe called for today for whatever reason. So I just got tired and frustrated and just started cutting and pulling and cutting and pulling. And that's why my loaves will not be equally sized. Why did I keep going? Why did I not give up? End results. I had to keep that in my mind. So yeah, basically not being willing to give up. I just had very oiled hands and I went on and began to roll and shape my dough in a loaf shape. And basically, like I said, I was just rolling toward the inside on both sides and around, you know, just kind of, I mean, didn't take all that, but just trying to put it in the shape of a loaf. Bake for about 25 minutes. Keep an eye on it. And ta-da! Magically, they turned out absolutely great. So right here, I'm just slathering them with as much butter as I wanted to. That's the good part. And check it out. Just wonderful. Just wonderful. Not the same size, but they're still gonna be delicious. Now, this is what I should have experienced. You see how nice and fluffy? That's the way it would have been. Anyway, it doesn't matter because it turned out absolutely delicious. Okay, so whenever you feel like you have enough patience, give it a try. You will love it and be proud of yourself. Enjoy. And that's it. What I like about it is I didn't have to pull down my bread machine or whatever. It's just regular supplies that you may possibly have at home. And if you don't, it doesn't cost much to get you a few pans that you can just reuse over and over again for years. And so I hope you all give it a try and hope you enjoy this.